All right, let's do some calculations. All right. So, for example, this is really like application side of things. So when you doing the YouTube, you can look at the like detailed advanced dashboard, and you can filter things, right? So I want you to like go here and filter the US, the geology, right? You can get a geographical filter here, or you filter US, okay, and then you can get a specific revenue, okay. And you know what? If that revenue is, I don't know, maybe $200, okay, maybe, I don't know, maybe your channel is doing pretty well, maybe 2,000, okay, doesn't really matter, because that's kind of US viewers get a 30% withholding rate, okay. So that means you multiply that, you're gonna get the 60 withheld before the payout. That means you won't be able to get $200. Some of the portion will be held. And you might think, well, that's a lot higher than I expected. That's the reason you need to submit the form. Remember, we submit the form so we can reduce the rate. That's the sort of incentive for you, right? So you know what? We can claim. Remember, we got this treaty going on. So general rule of thumb that the rate will be reduced from 30% of the US income to 10 or even better to 0% of that withholding rate, which is brilliant. Okay, so we need to claim by submitting this W-8 form, whether it's W-8BEN or W-8BENE, depending on what kind of entity type that you got. Okay, and you might think, well, that's pretty good. What about I forgot throughout the year? I forgot to submit it. Okay, you know what? That's not only just going to affect this US sourced income, it's going to affect the income globally. Okay, so for example, you earn like 100,000 US dollars globally. That's around the world. So, right, this is world income. But you got like I don't know, 2,000 US dollars from US. Okay, so that's a really tiny little bit of the income from United States. You might say, well, it's not a big deal, huh? For example, just apply 30%. I don't care, because if I apply 30%, that'll be just a merely 600 US dollars. Okay, that's nothing, right? That's nothing. But here's the thing: if you don't submit, you're going to get the global withholding rate. Okay. Because that platform will assume you got the US tax status. Okay? What do I mean by that? They assume that you are going to pay the full US tax. You know, US like tax the US person, right? Globally. The tax around the world. So if you don't submit this form to sort of say, hey, I am a foreigner, and my country and your country got a treaty that it got reduced, or even though, you know, maybe not a treaty, but you know what, I'm still a foreigner. If you don't claim that, you don't provide information, they will assume that you are a US person, right? You know, US green card, that's good, but US tax status, that's bad, because they will tax this like 100,000 US dollars. They will use this global income as the tax base, okay, and they will add 24% global earning. That's a lot. If you think about it, that's a lot. That means they will withhold 24,000 US dollars. Okay, you just by just ignore this tiny little bit form. It's not a big deal. You just submit this form, right? But your tax withhold just come from $600 to $24,000. Okay? Because it's not just US revenue, that's your global revenue. You have to withhold this much. So that's a significantly worse situation than if you just claim the benefits. That's better, right? And just you reduce withholding, and your 100,000 is safe. Okay, so don't forget.